It's movie time, and today we're going to talk about the movie that is so iconic it redefined the action genre, made Bruce Willis a household name, and sparked the most heated debate around whether it's a Christmas movie or not. You guessed it, it's Die Hard. Now, this isn't just another Die Hard review where we break down the same plot points. Nope, we're going to deep dive into the real genius behind this movie, uncover some insane trivia, and yes, I'll settle once and for all, is this a Christmas movie or not? Spoiler alert, it's both. Now, before we get into the action, let's talk about some of the things the fans don't know. Die Hard isn't just a movie, it's based on a book called Nothing Lasts Forever by Roderick Thorpe. Now, this book is actually a sequel to a 1960s film called The Detective, starring Frank Sinatra. Fun fact, Frank Sinatra was supposed to play John McClane. Now, it would be fun to see Frank Sinatra in a tank top taking down terrorists singing New York on the rooftop. This was supposed to be his big action comeback, but thank God he turned down the role, because in walks Bruce Willis, the perfect pick. His performance? Legendary. His one-liners? Iconic. The fact that he was a fresh face in the action genre made him relatable. Perhaps one of the most significant changes Die Hard introduced to the genre was the character of McClane. McClane was not the typical action hero. McClane was just an ordinary cop, flawed, vulnerable, and human. He didn't always have the upper hand. He had to rely on his quick thinking, resourcefulness, and sheer grit to survive. This shift in character allowed for a greater emotional depth of the action films. McClane's vulnerability made him more relatable, which, in turn, made the audience care more about his survival. And the fact that he was flawed, a little bit rough around the edges, made him an action hero who felt real. He wasn't just an invincible force in nature, he was a guy trying to get out alive and reunite with his family. Now, no good action movie is any good without its villain, and Die Hard's no exception. We have Hans Gruber. The late great Alan Rickman's portrayal of Gruber is so layered it's like an acting masterclass. Gruber isn't just a villain. He's a well-dressed, calm, and calculating mastermind who, quite frankly, is more charming than most of the heroes in Hollywood nowadays. What makes him so good instead of a maniac? He's got a plan. He's got class. And most importantly, he's not just out to blow things up for no reason. He's after the money, sure, but he's also playing the long game, creating chaos and dealing with people in the most sophisticated way possible. In fact, Rickman's delivery of his lines has every level of sophistication that sets him apart from every other villain in the genre. Rickman's iconic line delivery in the scene where he talks about his childhood hobby of building model planes was actually ad-lib. Gruber's accent was totally legit. Rickman worked for months to perfect it, so when he spoke, you didn't just believe he was a German tourist. You believed he was a well-traveled European mastermind who was far too clever for the whole situation. So what sets Die Hard apart from other action films of the time? It's all about authenticity. The explosions are real, the stunts are real, and unlike today's movies where everything is CGI, this was practical filmmaking at its finest. Take the iconic fire hose scene. That was inspired by 1923 silent film Safety Last. But here's the kicker, it wasn't planned. Bruce Willis's fire hose actually detached by accident, and he fell for real. They kept that take because it looked so real and it added the authenticity to the scene. So when you're watching the movie, that's not a stunt double. That's Bruce Willis in full-on action mode. And when it comes to on-scene deaths, Die Hard doesn't pull any punches, literally.
Get on the jet to Tokyo and ask the chairman. I'm telling you, you're just gonna have to kill me. Okay.
You see every bullet, every explosion. There's no fluff. When McCain kills someone, it matters. Die Hard isn't one of those movies where the action hero is basically Superman. John McClane doesn't walk away unscathed. He's the guy that gets hurt, and you feel it every time. Die Hard is a very quotable movie, and there's one line that turned it into pop culture gold. Who doesn't know the line?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
It's one of those moments that make you want to yell it at the TV, even if you don't have that McClane swagger.
Yippee-ki-yak, other buckets! Boyle, you did it! And you completely botched the catchphrase.
I'm pretty sure it was right.
No, but you did great.
McClane doesn't just have one-liners. He's consistently cracking jokes even if he's being shot or stepping on glass. He's the reluctant hero, the guy you want to hang out with. This was new for the genre. In the 80s, action heroes were these untouchable giants. Think Arnold or Sylvester. But McClane, he's every guy. He's smart, funny, and makes mistakes. And somehow, that makes him cooler than the invincible super soldier. When Die Hard was released in 1988, it didn't just change the way we think about action film. It redefined the genre. and a huge part of the success lies in the groundbreaking film techniques that director John McClane and cinematographer Jane DeBont used. From the film's innovative use of camera movement to its expert pacing and lighting, Die Hard not only shaped the action cinema, it set new standards that filmmakers would follow for decades. One of the most notable cinematic techniques that Die Hard pioneered is its use of cinematography to make the action feel dynamic. Take, for instance, the way the camera moves during intense fight scenes or shootouts. Cinematographer Jane DeBont, who would later go on to direct Speed 1994, employed creative camera angles that made you feel like you're right there with McClane, whether he was hanging from the building or crawling through the air ducts. In most action films before Die Hard, the camera would stay static, wide, and often distant from the action. But in Die Hard, the camera zooms in on the character's face, follows him through tight spaces, and uses close-ups to heighten the intensity of each moment. The claustrophobic nature of Nakatomi Towers became the key aspect of the film. Instead of wide-angle shots from afar, Die Hard often isolates John McClane within the frame, drawing us into his world. The use of a single location was a significant departure from the typical high-budget action films of the 1980s. Before Die Hard, most action movies were featured in sprawling settings or globe-trotting storylines, like James Bond or Indiana Jones, but Die Hard took place almost entirely within the confines of the Nakatomi Plaza. This restriction of space, combined with the claustrophobic cinematography, intensifies the stakes and made every move McClane made feel more consequential. By focusing on just one location, McTiernan and his team were able to create a pressure cooker environment where the audience couldn't escape the tension. The building became a character itself, and it's through McClane's navigation of these tight spaces, evading terrorists, and hiding in ventilation shafts that Die Hard redefined the action movie genre. It wasn't just about explosions and chases, it was about survival in an enclosed, hostile environment. The pacing and editing are crucial to the success of Die Hard. The film was able to maintain a perfect balance between action and suspense. The editing in the film helped maintain the pace, keeping the audience on the edge. McTiernan often used quick cuts to create a sense of urgency during key moments, like when McClane is trying to escape the blast zone or when he's in the middle of a firefight with terrorists. But equally important are the slower moments. When McClane is navigating the building on his own, the pacing is deliberate, giving us a chance to breathe, but also creating anticipation. We can feel his vulnerability as he sneaks around, hiding from the terrorist. The film builds in tempo, leading to a climactic burst of action before pulling us back again. This gives the audience time to experience the tension, instead of just watching it unfold. And then there's the time structure of the film. The real-time pacing, where events occur over a single night, adds to the sense of immediacy. We feel as if every moment is a life or death for McClane. It also gives the film unique urgency by making every minute count. McTiernan created a rhythm that is both fast-paced and methodical. The sound design in Die Hard plays a pivotal role in building the tension and giving us an immersive experience. One of the ways the film changed the action genre was through its approach of sound. The filmmakers didn't rely on bombastic music or a constant explosion to drive tension. Instead, it used silence. The lack of sound to heighten moments of suspense. For example, in the early moments of the film, when McClane is sneaking around and evading terrorists, there's very little music. Instead, we hear the quiet hum of the building's air conditioning and McClane's footsteps. The absence of music allows the audience to focus on the tension of the situation, creating kind of auditory claustrophobia. But when the big action moments happen, like an explosion or a firefight, the sound design comes alive. The gunshots are loud and crisp. The explosions are deafening, pulling you right into the chaos. The soundtrack subtly complements the action, but is often used sparingly, allowing the sound effects and ambient noise to take center stage. The lighting in Die Hard is another key element that revolutionizes the genre. The film often uses stark contrasts between light and shadow to create a mood and build tension. The Nakatomi Plaza, with its harsh industrial lighting, is filled with areas that are dimly lit, especially in the lower levels, and service areas where McClane often hides or battles terrorists. This strategic use of shadows is essential in making McClane feel like an underdog. He's often in the dark and in oppressive environments, while the terrorists are bathed in brighter, more controlled lighting. This sets McClane apart as an isolated figure, emphasizing his struggle and vulnerability. And when McClane finally triumphs, the lighting shifts. The final moments when McClane is reunited with his wife are bathed in warmer glow. The lighting design of using darkness for danger and light for triumph becomes a staple in the action genre, where lighting helps tell a story behind what's happening in the plot. So, how do all these techniques change the landscape of action cinema? Well, after Die Hard, we saw a new breed of action hero emerge, one who's more vulnerable and human. The single location setup also became more common to heighten the tension in films. The blend of realism, character depth, and high stakes in a contained environment became a formula for action films that followed. And this spawned a whole genre of Die Hard movies, including Under Siege, Die Hard on a Battleship, Sudden Death, Die Hard in a Stadium, Air Force One and Con Air, Die Hard on a Plane, Derailed, Die Hard on Trains, and Masterminds, Die Hard in a School. The film's pacing, use of sound design, and innovative camera work became the blueprint for how action movies would be shot and edited for years to come. It wasn't just about spectacle, it was about storytelling, character, and the use of technique that made the audience feel the action. It's no wonder it's still considered one of the greatest action films ever made. So, now it's time for the big question. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Well, the movie's set on Christmas Eve. There's Christmas trees and Christmas music, and the occasional reference to the holidays. It's almost like the filmmakers thought, hey, let's stick some holiday decorations in the background to make this feel more festive. And look, I get it. Die Hard has Christmas songs in the soundtrack. Let It Snow plays while McClane's fighting off terrorists. And you've got Winter Wonderland at the end, probably because they ran out of actual Christmas tunes and decided to throw in whatever they could find. But seriously, how much do these songs actually contribute to the story? I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I do love the contrast of holiday cheer playing in the blood-soaked shootouts.
But nobody has no place to go. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
It's like the filmmakers knew exactly how to make you feel weird about everything happening on screen. I feel like the only reason it's set on Christmas is because it was convenient for the plot, but you don't need to make it a holiday film to tell the story. It's basically a Christmas movie with some wrapping paper around it. But come on, this movie has a body count that negates all the Christmas spirit they tried to shove into it. So while the emotional core might be somewhat festive, it's buried in so much blood and bullet casings you can barely see it. Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie. It's an action film that happens to be taking place during Christmas. This is like calling Jaws a fun beach vacation movie, just because it sets place on the beach. The movie has no interest spreading holiday cheer or showing us a heartwarming moment of kindness. This isn't a heartwarming family tale where everyone gathers around the fire and shares some hot cocoa. It's a guy fighting terrorists and surviving on pure testosterone and whatever explosions the Nakatomi building has left. So if you're looking for a wholesome family classic, this isn't it. It's a holiday movie for adults, and if you can't appreciate that, I don't know what to tell you. Look, there's no denying that McClane's journey is about reconnecting with his family, which is something that does align with the themes of typical Christmas movies. Bruce Willis's character, John McClane, is trying to reunite with his wife, Holly, who is stuck at a company Christmas party being held hostage by a group of terrorists. We've got the Christmas setting, the theme of family, and the Christmas music. Plus, the movie gives us a rare treat, a Christmas movie that isn't a steaming pile of reindeer shit. So yeah, not technically a Christmas movie in the same way that Elf or A Wonderful Life is, but who cares? It got everything you need. A reluctant hero, a bunch of bad guys getting their asses handed to them, and a really odd amount of Christmas cheer sprinkled in between the gunfire. If that doesn't make it a Christmas movie, I'm not sure what does. But honestly, if you're sitting there still debating this, you're probably missing the point. All in all, Die Hard is a near perfect action film, and a better Christmas movie than anything Hallmark's put out.
A Hallmark Hall of Fame collection.
The outcome has not been what we hoped.
She's never been wrong.
I can't get elected.
He's never been anything.
Just a beer vendor?
But one friendly bet is about to change everything.
I propose we get the local beer.
That is one big pile of shit.
It's become the blueprint for everything that followed in the 90s and beyond. Hell, it's so iconic it practically became a verb. To die hard means to never quit, no matter how bad the odds are. It's the kind of film that proves you don't need a big budget or over-the-top special effects to create something memorable. Just a solid script, a charismatic lead, and a villain that makes you want to strangle him throughout every scene. So next time you scroll past it trying to figure out something to watch, just grab some eggnog, put on the movie, and enjoy the ride. Until next time, yippee-ki-yay, nerds.